Chairperson, honorable judges, distinguished guests, timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my companions, and last but definitely not least, my most worthy opponents. A pleasant good morning to you all. My name is Javon Edwards. I am honored to stand here and represent my school, St. Aloysius Primary, in the defense of the mood, school's failure, Ministry of Education responsibility. First and foremost, let me begin by saying, no one or no community wants the stigma of their school being a failure. The stark reality is that this exists, and I emphatically state, judges, that the ministry is solely responsible. Why? Because they are the leaders in the education process, and leaders take responsibility. In amplification of our stance on the mood, a clear definition of the term is necessary. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, school is an organization that provides instruction as A, an institution for the teaching of children, B, college, university. 1. Dictionary.com says failure is an act or instance of failing or proving unsuccessful. 2. Lack of success. Ministry of Education, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is, quote, a governmental department responsible for education and related affairs. Responsibility is defended by Merriam-Webster Dictionary as the state or fact of being answerable or accountable for something within one's power, control, or management. 2. An instance of being responsible. 3. A particular burden of obligation upon one who is responsible. Esteemed judges, these definitions are self-explanatory and further bolster the confidence of my colleagues and I to stand here resolutely in defense of the mood, school's failure, Ministry of Education responsibility. Honorable judges, in September 2007 to October 2011, the former Minister of Education, who is now the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Right Honorable Andrew Holness, was very courageous in postulating that a number of schools are failing schools. According to an article by Nadisha Hunter, staff reporter of the Gleaner, dated September 2, 2011, quote, Education Minister Andrew Holness has defended his ministry's intervention in 4 secondary institutions he labeled as failing schools, saying their poor performances indicated that they need assistance. There is no money spent in or meant in our intervention. Certain public comments that have been made so far by public servants suggest that the minister has no right to intervene in a failing school. End quote. This, my opponents, proves that the Honorable Minister understood that the Ministry of Education is responsible for their failure and hence the task to fix it. In the proposal attempt to further support the move, 3 points are emphasized, namely, 1. The Ministry of Education upholds disciplinary actions by administrators and educators, thus sending mixed signals on accepted behaviors and demoralizing teachers. 2. Use of political affiliations to grant resources. 3. Inadequate or no resources for schools. My opponents, the Ministry of Education is the leading stakeholder who legislates changes guiding the teaching and learning process. According to Lizard Arthur Watson, in an article published in the Gleaner Sunday, July 21st, 2013, and I quote, the Ministry of Education has responsibility to oversee the running of schools in a holistic manner, having a solid reach to all students who are entitled to the right of a sound education rather. For this to be a reality, they must ensure that their education officers, graduate, trained and experienced teachers know what their role is in the inspection and guidance of each school and report to the head the various shortcomings that they have observed. In addition, the Ministry of Education is expected to give assistance in ensuring that no schools fail under their watch. End quote. Even though the ministry is not in the classrooms as administrators or classroom teachers, they have the authority and right to implement principles that is a standard of moral or ethical decision-making to guide action and behavior. When schools succeed, they quickly take glory as the non-opposition education minister, Honorable Rebuttal, always do in his announcements when students do well in internal or external examinations such as GSAT, CSEC, and CAPE. When schools fail, they are also responsible. The bitter must also be taken with the sweet. To further enhance our stance, esteemed judges, I refer to the recent pronouncement in the media by the Minister of Education cautioning school administration against locking out students as one case in point. The truth is that locking out students is the last resort for most frustrated school administrations that have made numerous futile efforts to help stem the problem of punctuality, only to see that the Ministry of Education opposed and railroading an obviously workable plan, causing the problem to persist and even escalate. Students are sent mixed signals as to the standard of behavior expected and facing the consequences of their actions. Judges, the second speaker will take over the baton and complete the second leg of this argument to leave no bars unturned in opening the eyes of our opponents to see why schools failure is undoubtedly Ministry of Education's responsibility. I respect.
We now invite the first chairperson.
Mr. Chairman, notable judges, competent timekeeper, my most worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. After extensive research and honest preparation, we are privileged to stand here resolute in opposition of the move. Failing schools, Ministry of Education's responsibility. We have heard my opponent state that the ministry has no right. However, Mr. Chairman, to stand by these claims is to either be in total misunderstanding of what the move implies, or to have a limited understanding of the meaning of the responsibility and the Ministry of Education's mandated role. As first speaker, Mr. Chairman, I will edify you in the role of Ministry of Education in Jamaica as stipulated by the Education Act of 1980 and show how undertaking this important task would not, has not, and will not lead to school failure. My articulate second speaker will expose the role of school administration in the creation of failing schools and expose the impact of teacher and student responsibilities where school success or failure is concerned. My verbose third speaker will delve into the role parents play in the creating of failing schools and highlight the impact on communities on schools' performance. Facts, statistics, and trends, my opponents, will be the backbone of our argument, not opinions or concocted myths and beliefs. Taylor, 2010, and notable professor at the University of San Francisco stated, and I quote, "Public education reform these days focus on improving schools are doomed to fail in some schools for the same reason that such efforts have failed for decades. The surrounding challenges are impeding the progress. Administrators fail to effectively carry out policies, parents unconcerned with students' development, students not prepared or unwilling to learn, and communities' ignorance of schools' importance block the channels of government support of educational reform." End quote. In a nutshell, my opponents, as in this case, in a number of schools in Jamaica, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. The flip side to this, my opponent, is that there are those schools out there that are successful, that are operating in accordance with the edicts of Ministry of Education, and are consistently producing individuals of worth within our country. The Ministry of Education, as embedded in its mission statement carries out the government of Jamaica's mandate of ensuring a system which secures quality education and training of all citizens of Jamaica in order to optimize individual and national development. The organization is one of Jamaica's largest public entities and is comprised presently of 11 agencies, 6 regional offices, a central office with approximately 40 units which fall under 5 divisions. These unite to provide the framework of efficient functioning over 1,000 public educational institutions that serve over 100,000 students and over 20,000 teachers. Now, my opponents, with the ministry's role in the Jamaican education system clearly defined for you, we now put it to you that the MOE can carry out its functions as mandated by the government and provide adequate avenues for supervision of schools, but it cannot micromanage each institution. In using the data from the 2013 NEI report on schools in Jamaica, former Minister of Education Ronald Twait said, and I quote, "Effective schools were defined by having strong leadership, a clear school mission, quality teaching and learning, a safe and orderly climate, transparent and effective monitoring of students' progress, high expectations, and parental involvement," end quote. The Ministry of Education proudly stands by its mantra that every child can learn, every child must learn. Mr. Chairman, my opponents, to say that schools failure is the Ministry of Education's responsibility is to vindicate the accountability of administrators, to excuse the role of parents in creating better school environments, is to forget the responsibilities of teachers and students themselves, and is to ignore the role communities play in creating failing schools. So, no we can't is our slogan. No we can't affix school failure as the responsibility of the Ministry of Education. I beg.
The second speaker,
Honorable judges, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and last but not least, my word but misguided opponents, good morning. My name is Tiana Gray, and I'm proud to represent the St. Aloysius Primary Debate Team in complete support and conviction of the moot, schools failure, Ministry of Education responsibility. My task is to continue to justify why my colleagues and I lay schools failure at the feet of the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education must take a stance with school teachers and principals if the school's principles and standards are to be upheld in order to remove the indiscipline that inhibits success. Another case in point, honorable judges, is government's use of political affiliations to decide on the prompt allocation of school funds. This caused a delay in providing much needed resources for the students' development, which greatly contributes to schools' failures. Teachers are doing their part by not only teaching, but inspiring all participants in the learning process and also ensuring the sound transfer of information and the development of programs to make students become and remain interested in learning. Teachers are always dipping into their pockets to use their already strained stipend. Teachers are reduced to begging private businesses or individuals to provide badly needed teaching aids to avoid the bankruptcy of the teaching learning process. My opponents, this is happening because the Ministry of Education fails to carry out its mandate of providing adequate resources for the proper functioning of schools. They prefer to close whole schools that cater to wide areas of communities and overburden already overpopulated schools. According to the Jamaica Observer dated April 9, 2016, in an article by Balfour and quote, with the likelihood of the closure of a number of primary schools in Eastern St. Thomas, the LP caretaker for the constituency, the land is still right, said that he has been receiving complaints from parents and residents about the reported closures, with many worried about their upset children, dislocation and increased costs in transporting them to other primary schools, and quote, this dislocation and insecurity of parents and students, my opponents, caused by the decision made by the Ministry of Education, causes schools failure. For the most part, parents are doing their part by providing food, clothing, shelter, relevant tools of learning, emotional stability, and seeking help for those who are unable to afford it. My opponents, come on now. I know you will quickly say that the ministry has provided path as an intervention for needy students, but to my opponents, the mere stipulated implementation of the program is a source of embarrassment to students and a deterrent for those it intended to help, thus causing high absenteeism, which contributes to schools' failure because of food and transportation costs. This lack of equity in the provision of transportation for students in the rural areas as compared to the students in the urban areas also contributes to schools' failure because the ministry does not lobby on behalf of the students in the rural area to assert lower costs and safe, readily available transportation. It is the ministry's responsibility, and I repeat, it is the ministry's responsibility to use the education tax that has been collected to provide the much needed resources in the failing schools and those on the verge of failure. These funds can be used to create an excellent learning environment along with appropriate resources and properly compensate teaching staff to improve the failing status of such institutions. Honorable judges, would I then be incorrect in stating that the Ministry of Education has contributed to the failing status of schools by annually sending underperforming students to them? Over the years, this action by the Ministry of Education has prevented schools from rising above the negative stigma that is attached to them. Successive administrations have repeatedly tied hands, so to speak, of administrators by sending those students to the school without providing effective intervention programs and upgrading staff to deal with the recurring situation. So my opponent, who is responsible for schools' failure, I am sure by now that your eyes and minds are finally opened and are finally agreeing with us that schools' failure is the Ministry of Education's responsibility. Esteemed judges, without a shadow of doubt, my colleagues and I staunchly give credence to the moot schools' failure, Ministry of Education's responsibility. Our third speaker will give further insight and evidence as it pertains to dormant attitude and inadequate or lack of consultation by the Ministry of Education. I rest my case.
Undoubtedly, Mr. Chairman, we can say that the failure of schools is not the responsibility of the Ministry of Education. How can we truly turn a blind eye to the main helm of the problem, the integral part of the day-to-day life of the school, and not zero in on the role that the school's administrations have played in the atrocities that also have occurred with regards to the education of our nation's children? My opponents, you have stated that the Ministry of Education fails to carry out their duties. According to Esir et al. 2000, Principles and Strategies of Teaching, the functions of a school administration are seeing that all school money is economically expanded and accounted for, planning, erecting, and equipping the school buildings, operating the school plant and keeping it in an excellent state of repair, providing supplies and textbooks, assisting in curriculum instruction, organizing an instructional program,
keeping the public informed of the aims, accomplishments, and needs of the schools, and keeping school records and accounts. The functions of a school administration also include staffing and administrative appointments, improvements, and professional development of current and aspiring school administrators. Now, if one body has so many roles and functions, any failure must be directed to the person or body with the most responsibilities for its survival. Some schools, Mr. Chairman, are in direct violation of what the MOE has recommended, and of such, the administration must be held accountable. As stipulated by the MOE, the recommended teacher-student ratio at the primary level is 35:1. And if we check many school records, they have exceeded this number by 10 or even 15 students. Now, isn't this a recipe for school failure? The former Minister of Education, Ronald Waits, wrote in a Gleaner article dated Sunday, July 21st, 2013, roles of principals and school boards will be reviewed, and principals and vice principals will have to undergo mandatory leadership training for a school office. Isn't this evidence that problems exist at this level? Grace Camille Monroe published an article in the Gleaner dated January 4, 2013, stated that the teacher is highlighted as a critical plank in the success of our school and by extension the education system. It is only when the classroom is transformed that the system will become transformed. Olga James Reed, 2001, Teaching in its Management and Function, opined that the teacher is the key person in the teaching and learning situation of the school, and as such, plays the role as manager of the class. But Mr. Chairman, such teachers are scarce. Many teachers are not carrying out the designated responsibilities, and therefore the school must fail. Gone are the days when teachers see teaching as a calling, or even have the passion to teach, but is seen as an income provider or just a means of acquiring a job. How many of you, my fellow opponents, can clearly state that I'm wrong? In a Gleaner article published August 24, 2014, Ronald Waits wrote, "Seeing teaching as a calling does not happen anymore. Persons are admitted to colleges who have run out of other options because of their own academic deficiencies. Sadly, there are teachers in the system that do not have the right attitude to work and is often not ready to teach, and has offered mediocre lessons to their students and lack the level of responsibility to even care about the quality of their education." I will echo the words used by my first speaker. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Many students are the primary reason for their own failure and are encouraged to be responsible for their learning. Mr. Chairman, do you think the MOE was hallucinating when they stated its mantra of every child can learn, every child must learn? This was placing the responsibility of learning on the student. You have the ability to learn, and therefore you must. Unfortunately, many students are so distracted and their attentions are diverted to social networks, television, and on the latest gadgets they can acquire. No emphasis is being placed on their education, and the element of peer pressure has catapulted the problem to new levels. Students must take responsibility for their own shortcomings. My opponents, you need to redirect your blame and add value to your arguments. The failure of schools must be directed at the administration, the teachers, and by extension, the students themselves. No, we can't affect school failure as the main responsibility of the Ministry of Education. I thank you.
Our third and final speaker of St. Aloysius.
Moderator, esteemed judges, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, most competent timekeeper, boys and girls, and last but definitely not least,
my most worthy and well-intentioned but misguided opponents. A pleasant good afternoon to you all. Alia Thompson is my name, and I am here today in solidarity with my colleagues and all well-thinking Jamaicans to propose the moot schools failure, Ministry of Education's responsibility. According to Dr. Mark Nansley, then President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, speaking at a 49th Annual Conference, Jamaica Grant, August 19, 2013, some of the problems facing the education sector and causing schools failures are, and I quote, the unassignment of social workers to regional offices, the high level of truancy among students, the high level of violence against children resulting in premature deaths, and the low level of school furniture and other resources needs to be provided by the government, end quote. All these and other problems, my opponents, causing schools failures cannot be resolved by the teachers, parents, or guardians only, and therefore become the responsibility of the leading stakeholder, the Ministry of Education. Honorable judges, part of what is deeply wrong with the education system, not only in Jamaica, but internationally, is the Donman dictatorship of the making and changing of policies without consultation of all stakeholders. To cite a recent example, since the new administration, Jamaica Labour Party, came into power, the Ministry of Education, Honorable Wellreed, dictated that he was going to implement 7 years of compulsory high school education or until age 18 years. Although the idea might be a good one, a number of persons were confused because this was done without clarity on its implementation and conditions of eligibility, simply because this was done without consulting all stakeholders so that participants could be informed about its implementation. According to the same article by Backward Henry in the Jamaica Observer dated April 9, 2016, mentioned earlier by my colleague, I quote, "The land of civil rights wants the Ministry of Education to carry out comprehensive consultations with parents, guardians, and community leaders. Civil rights wants the ministry to send in a high-level team to the schools threatened with closure, including Pier 3 River Primary, Winchester Primary, Barking Lodge Primary, and Amity Hall Primary, and meet with the communities." He said that while on the face of it he understands the economic feasibility in the closing the schools, a more socially sensitive and proper consultation process needs to be done. The quote continues, "The Ministry of Education must move with speed in meeting with parents, guardians, and other critical stakeholders and explain the situation and ways in which students and other stakeholders can be assisted in transitioning to other schools," he said, end quote. The government should take a fine-tooth comb approach and revise the education system they have implemented over the years. The ministry should devise plans to work with other stakeholders that provides unison on rules and decision-making, eliminate political influences on developing schools, grants, and funds, as well as ensure availability of all of resources to all schools, and as such, going forward, be better able to correctly operate under the mandate. Every child can learn, every child must learn, thus eliminating concepts of failing schools. In conclusion, since it has already been proven by my colleagues and I that schools failure is indeed the Ministry of Education responsibility, I challenge the Ministry of Education to move away from the confines of the narrow funnel which says to you, my opponents, that it is all the teachers' fault, and articulate to this nation a plan of action aimed at addressing the multiple problems facing the education sector and causing schools failures. The defense rests. are casting the blame of school's failure on a single entity, the Ministry of Education? Why do you continue to dance around the issue that there are other agents at work impeding the impact of the well-intentioned ministry and as a result are leading to schools failing? Have you ever truly considered the impact of parenting or the lack thereof on school success or failure? In a Jamaica Observer article dated October 31st, 2013 by Arlene Martin Wilkie, Jamaica's teen pregnancy rate is the fourth highest in the Caribbean. It stands at 20,000 girls under 18 years with a birth rate of 72 per 1,000 adolescent girls. You may ask how this affects school failure, but my opponents, we are driving home the point that in too many cases for comfort in Jamaica, children are having children. There is a breakdown in the moral fiber of society where bearing and growing up children in the right environment is concerned. Being financially able, emotionally stable, and even having the basic educational requirements are a thing of the past in some cases. According to Graham Payton, education editor for the London Telegraph, and I quote, a study commissioned by the Department for Education found that a wide range of stress factors in the home resulted in a sharp dip in pupil performance at school, end quote. He further argued, and I quote, schools were being forced to act as surrogate families because too many mothers and fathers struggled to bring their children up properly. To concretize our point on the home front, former Minister of Education, now Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Andrew Holness, in a September 11, 2011 article in the Jamaica Gleaner, admitted after famously coining the term failing schools, that schools fail for a complexity of reasons, including student background and the sort of environment in which they exist. Environment, my opponents, include the community. We cannot and we should not exclude the impact a community has on the performance of a school. Elizabeth Ward, chairman of the Violence Prevention Alliance Jamaica, wrote in 2012 that violence impacts on the education system, both psychologically and economically. Some children do not attend school because their parents cannot afford it, while others have difficulty focusing because the violent environment feeds feelings of anxiety and powerlessness. In turn, the resulting educational deficiencies feed further violence. While my opponents have failed to convince us of the culpability of the MOE in the existence of failing schools, we, the opposition, stand firm in our belief that with all the factors working against policy initiatives, the Ministry of Education cannot be held responsible for failing schools. The opposition rests.
My opponents, everyone here has heard you state that the Ministry of Education has no rights. It is not the MOE's fault that the schools are failing. No. These three main things are explaining whose fault it is. One, it is the students' fault, especially the teenagers with their teenage pregnancy. This has made them exit the schools and they're not getting their proper education. Two, it is the parents, for they don't have the money to send their students to school and sometimes not even proper uniforms. And three, the communities. What we Jamaicans would call the ghetto communities that has a negative effect on the students, and so they do not do well because they are thinking what they are not supposed to think. The Ministry of Education has no right to have the responsibility. It is the parents, teachers, students, and the community.
opponents. I understand that their stance is as a result of a culture they have grown accustomed to, where they see no example of persons taking responsibility for their actions. Persons in authority, especially within the Ministry of Education, are always laying the blame elsewhere instead of taking the responsibility. My opponents, your first and the second speaker stated that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But my opponents, the Ministry of Education has not led the horse to water, so how will it drink? Our schools are overcrowded. The smaller the class, the better the individual student experience. According to a magazine entitled Education Week at blog.edweek.org, entitled 10 Reasons the U.S. Education System is Failing in the United States of America, a study by the National Center for Education Statistics found that 14% of U.S. schools exceed capacity at a time where children need more attention than ever to succeed. Overcrowded classrooms are making it even tougher to learn and tougher for the teachers to be effective. Also, honorable judges, my first speaker clearly stated that when schools succeed, the Ministry of Education quickly takes the glory, and they never take the responsibility when schools fail. The bitter must also be taken with the sweet. I rest my case.
Alright, the judges time on the jury.
All of us, we have agreed that this was very riveting. Like coming to a conclusion was very hard. No joke. Like not to sound cliche. There are a lot of strong points. Starting with St. Aloysius, it was clear for both teams. It was clear that you have researched. We enjoy and we like the fact that you use Jamaican. Use of Jamaica, things that are happening in Jamaica. We advised though, there was the use of dictionary.com. Yes, but we advise that you and your coach look for more academic sort of sources. Alright, but nonetheless, very good use of evidence of research. For St. Aloysius, we like the confidence that was there. Mandeville, you have your points. You have your points. I know you're a little nervous, but we encourage you to be more strong, to be stronger in how you portray your points. We like the use of the chart. That was very good. We encourage that, and very good. Now we want to focus on a few pronunciation. When you're pronouncing some words such as honor, you don't put on the H, alright? So just bear that in mind that this honor, holistic, and pleasant is similar to good. So we say pleasant morning or good morning. So I just want you to bear these in mind because we want you to be better speakers. So just bear these in mind so that everything is in place. Mandeville, very good use, very good teamwork. You could see the teamwork. The first speaker came up and highlighted what the second and the third speaker will be doing, and it flowed very good. We encouraged through the first speaker to make it very clear overall. First speaker to make it very clear what your team members will be doing. A very good match. We have to choose slightly for us, but let's hear the scores.
Okay. So.
Right.
Score. Best speaker. We have from Mandeville, the best speaker from Mandeville is Jessian Thomas. The best speaker for St. Aloysius is Alia. And overall, the best speaker would be Alia. Mandeville, ended with the point 208. Aloysius, who's the winner of the match,